Hi, I'm Matti Lehtinen from the National Public Health Institute in Finland and Karolinska Institute, Sweden. Today I'm going to talk about proof of concept trial on oropharyngeal cancer screening of HPV-associated oropharyngeal cancers actually. The association between human papillomavirus infections and oropharyngeal cancer was discovered in the 90s, mostly by Peter Snijders in Amsterdam. But the only prospective study indicating a risk for the development of oropharyngeal cancer following HPV-16 infection was discovered by the Nordic Biobank and Cancer Registry collaboration. In 2001, we were able to publish 14-fold increased relative risk of oropharyngeal cancer in HPV-16 seropositive individuals. This was soon followed by observations first in Sweden, then in the other Nordic countries and the US, that the incidence of oropharyngeal cancers, mostly tonsillar cancer and base of tongue cancer, were increasing and had been increasing actually from the 70s onwards. The increase was mainly in males, both for tonsillar cancer, but also for base of tongue cancer, and especially during the first decade of 2000s. It is reminiscent of what has been happening for invasive cervical cancer incidence in Finland over the last 30 years. Tremendous increase in fertile aged women. The only difference between oropharyngeal cancer and cervical cancer here is the age of the diagnosed patients. Actually, also the oropharyngeal cancer is more common in males than in females. The reason, most likely, however, for both increases is the HPV-16 epidemic that took place starting from the late 80s during the early 1990s. Now the question is, how can we prevent these epidemic oropharyngeal cancers in middle-aged females and males? One obvious means is, of course, vaccination, and we know that vaccination against HPV-16-18 has an efficacy of 80%, highly statistically significant efficacy against oropharyngeal infection with 16-18 times. We know that this result has remained the same. The efficacy has been sustainable after these first 4 years up to 15 years. The follow-up data is being published as I'm giving this lecture. We also know that the numbers of cases both in females and males is reduced, especially by gender-neutral vaccination. Also, the numbers of quality assured life years lost will be decreased in the females and males over years following the gender-neutral vaccination, but 50 years is a long time to wait for the reductions. So the second alternative to make proof of concept trial to assess the value and performance of HPV antibody and HPV DNA-based screening of oropharyngeal cancer is timely. I'm in the following approaching this via the data on relative risk associated to different indicators of HPV infection and its association with oropharyngeal cancer. We know that pre-diagnostic HPV-16 antibody positivity to VLP-L1 antibodies gives 15-fold relative risk of oropharyngeal cancer. We know that a specific protein, E6, early E6 protein, that is interacting with the cellular p53 protein and is one of the means how HPV is causing cancer. Antibodies to this protein are associated with very high risk of oropharyngeal cancer. We have been looking for this also in Finland and discovered that the risk associated to E6 antibody positivity in Finnish females is about 120-fold, which is still a very high relative risk. So if we keep on calculating these relative risk estimates, what about HPV-16 DNA positivity? There is a meta-analysis done on the observations between HPV DNA positivity, HPV-16 DNA positivity and oropharyngeal cancer, and the risk is at least 15-fold. So taken together, the additive relative risk for individuals positive for these three risk indicators is 150-fold. But as for screening, we might benefit from thinking outside the box. What about the clustering of HPV infections between spouses? It's not really familiar hereditary risk that we are talking about here, but risk of HPV-associated cancers in women and their spouses. And there's an old paper by Kari Hemminki showing that husbands of cervical cancer patients have an increased risk, about twofold, statistically significantly increased risk of oropharyngeal cancer if the woman has carcinoma in situ or invasive cervical cancer. The risk is about 2.5-fold. And this was true 25 years ago. What we have been discovering lately is that most likely the increase of HPV-16 background prevalence due to the HPV-16 epidemic that has been going through all the Nordic countries. The risk of oropharyngeal cancer in husbands of women with anogenital HPV-associated cancers has been increasing and increasing especially lately, not in the 90s, but in between 2002 and 2015, the risk in the youngest group, men and women diagnosed with oropharyngeal cancer, that is men, or cervical anogenital cancer in women, the risk is as high as 9-fold. Also shown here in the figure. So spouses with or women with HPV cancer have 2 to 10-fold increased relative risk of oropharyngeal cancer. Now the question is this additive or multiplicative? If it is multiplicative, all of a sudden the combined relative risk associated to different indicators of HPV infection, the familial association also being an indicator of HPV acquired HPV infection, the multiplicative relative risk can be as high as 1,500. And this gives us a good power to look for the efficacy of screening in, let's say, 150 screened versus 500 unscreened women, if the relative risk is 60 and the combined existence of E6 antibody positive and HPV-16 DNA positive individuals is 0.02%, which is a conservative estimate. The E6 antibody positivity in the population is about 0.5%, and the HPV-16 DNA positivity in these individuals could be assumed to be 1/4 of these E6 antibody positive individuals. The power is not enough with a relative risk 60, but more than enough with a relative risk of 300. The true combined relative risk probably is between these two alternatives. Where do we find such individuals with serum samples and possibilities to discover occult oropharyngeal cancer? There's the Finnish maternity cohort with 1 million participants and who have donated at the first trimester of pregnancy a serum sample for screening of congenital infections. These serum samples have been taken approximately 25 years ago. And the good thing is that these E6 antibodies are sustainable and can be identified already in the serum samples of pregnant women. The numbers of oropharyngeal cancer cases in the Finnish maternity cohort were already 10 years ago hundreds of cases if we think of tongue or tonsillar cancers. So this is some calculations. The participants of appropriate birth cohorts, participants of Finnish females in the maternity cohort, birth cohorts 59 to 83, there are 860,000 women. Pregnancies have been discovered in these women. About 500,000 women have donated serum samples to the Finnish maternity cohort, and at the 33 study site communities where we have the study infrastructure available is about 320,000. If we split this into two and screen 160,000 women for HPV-16 E6 antibodies and later HPV-16 DNA, we end up in the following figures: about 800 E6 antibody positives, of whom 400, half of whom might be enrolled at the second visit. 1/4 of these women would be HPV-16 DNA positive, and inviting their spouses to the second visits would mean identification of E6 positivity and HPV-16 DNA positivity in presumably 50 individuals. These numbers would fit with the power calculations and most likely be even higher than the 150. We would be in these E6 antibody positives testing HPV-16 DNA, but we would also be testing the HPV-16 DNA in 2,000 control women and men to get the specificity, sensitivity, and predictive values for this E6 antibody testing and combined E6 antibody and HPV-16 DNA testing. The rest and a big question in this exercise is what can the ENT clinics do in terms of identifying occult oropharyngeal cancer in these screen positive women and men. We are coming into this. We have been testing pooling of serum samples because testing 160,000 serum samples is not easy task. The pooling with different cutoff levels has different sensitivity and specificity for identifying E6 antibody positivity or oropharyngeal cancer positivity in the tested pilot pools. What we are doing is pilot study starting with the Finnish maternity cohort, close to 1 million sample donors, and ending into a restricted number of screen positive women and men. Screen positivity meaning E6 antibody positivity and HPV-16 DNA positivity. Sorry, this is not a good slide. The issues on identifying HPV-related oropharyngeal squamous cell cancer are the following. We know that the pooled HPV-16 serology is performing very well. We know that HPV DNA testing is doable from oropharyngeal samples. we are counting on the multiplicativity assumption and testing also spouses of these E6 antibody positive women, whether the oropharyngeal cancer incidence is different in spouses versus single ones is an issue, as well as the identification of occult oropharyngeal cancer in screen positive women and men at the ENT clinics. Thank you.